Good afternoon, everyone. We are back with you. It's Wednesday at noon, so that means it's time for our home buying seminar. I'm Amy Schrader with RE/MAX Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Swan with Mortgage Investors Group.
And since the first of the year, we've been coming to you every Wednesday to just kind of share with you about the home buying process. And we started with getting pre-approved. And we have moved on down to where now we are almost finished with this whole process. So today we're going to talk about getting to closing and what's involved in that. So last week we talked about how you'll get an appraisal done, you'll get the title search done, and then once all that has been submitted to the underwriter, we get what is the best 3 words in the real estate business.
Clear to close.
Clear to close. That's right. It's almost as good as Go Big Orange. So once we get that clear to close, then there's a couple of different things that are going to happen. The first one is Kim is going to get with the title company, and they are going to prepare what is called a closing disclosure. So I'm going to let her cover that part here in just a minute. But on the real estate side of things, we are going to schedule what is called the final walkthrough or the final inspection. And that's just an opportunity for you, the buyer, and me, or whoever your agent is, to go back out to that house one final time before we close and just make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. If we had any repairs that we asked for, we're verifying those repairs were done. Typically you're going to wait until the day before closing or the day of closing to do this because you want to give the sellers time to move out if they were still living in the house. So you want to make sure that nothing was damaged during the move. Just look at the overall condition of the house and make sure it's in the same condition or better than it was when you went under contract on it. So, you're checking to make sure the roof hadn't leaked or that water hadn't come up in the basement, because Lord knows with all the rain we had in February, that's been an issue. So it's just your last opportunity to look at the house one last time before you go to closing. Typically, we don't have any issues with these. You go, you do your walkthrough, you show up to close, and everything's fine. We have had instances where something was supposed to be fixed, it's not been fixed. Whatever the case may be. And you just have to address those with the seller at closing. Either, they're going to give you an allowance to get that fixed, or you just have to work things out. We have had to postpone closings before. So that's never the result that you want, but sometimes they can't be avoided. So we do a final walkthrough. You'll sign a piece of paper that says you've done your final inspection and you either accept the property as is, or you're going to list any issues that you saw with the property that had not been, there prior to. So, and now I'm going to let Kim talk to you a little bit about a closing disclosure, what that is, and why you have to wait 3 days before you can actually close on your house.
Exactly. And it's really, this is a good thing. I know part of the home buying process, but this is just something that protects the borrower from their lender from doing anything dishonest or an additional fees. But basically at the beginning of your application, we send you what we call a loan estimate. And then at the end, when everything's approved and we're done, then we send out what we call a closing disclosure. We also sometimes call it a CD. And somebody asked me the other day, they said I didn't get my CD. So it's actually just 2 pieces of paper, but it has all your numbers. It basically gives your sales price, your interest rate, your closing costs, your payment. So that way you don't get to the loan closing and realize, hey, she told me this, but now here's this. So it's incorrect information. And in the olden days, that did happen.
Back in the good old days.
Yeah, when you didn't have to do these closing disclosures, but you also, had lenders who might tell you something up front, then you get to closing and either your rate's higher or you need more money for closing and all that. But again, this is a form that's going to give you all the information that you need, and you've got to acknowledge that at least 3 business days before closing. We count Saturdays, we can't count Sundays, and then we can't count holidays if a holiday is falling in around your closing time. A lot of times with our 100% loans, you'll also see on those that they actually get their earnest money back. So lots of times, I had one today that I think he paid $500 in earnest money and he got back $484. So it was a pretty good deal for him to use that money then for moving expenses. But again, it will give you all the information, so you're not getting to closing and not know what your numbers are. This form, we're not allowed to give it to your realtor. So, and the title company, we work with them on their fees and our fees and get everything put together. So, and I always like to, with us, they can e-sign it. They can just go on and click on and acknowledge it by an e-signature. But if anybody wants to come in and sit down and go over each line item, and I've had some bring their loan estimate in from the beginning and the closing disclosure, and we sit down and go over that together. So, but that's what we do to get ready for closing.
All right. Like Kim was talking about in the good old days, I mean, I did mortgages for 10 years before I got onto the real estate side. And, there's always rules that get put in place when somebody is not playing by the rules originally. Exactly. And so a lot of loan officers were doing what are called bait and switch tactics. And so they would get you to sign with them to do your mortgage and promise you a rate that was probably 0.5% better than anybody else. Oh, yeah. And then you'd get to the closing table and everything's been done. So everybody's expecting to close and get keys. And, that person would either have bumped your rate up and never told you that. Now your payment's higher. Mm-hmm. Or you thought that rate was for a 30-year fixed, and turns out it was for a 228 adjustable rate mortgage that had a 3-year prepay on it. So it just made a lot of sense. It was an adjustment when I first started doing the closing disclosures, because used to, Kim could call me at 9 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, we're cleared to close on that file, and we'd be at the closing table at 5 o'clock that afternoon. Doesn't really happen that way now. So, and it's a good thing because it gives everybody that final week or so to prepare and get everything, request time off from work. The sellers know that they're getting out, all that. But the closing disclosure is a good thing. But like she said, they don't send it to me. So if you call me and ask me questions about it, I haven't seen it. I don't know what it says because that's private. That's between you and your lender. I don't even see it when we go to closing. So, I'd be happy to go over it with you, but you'd have to bring a copy to me because I don't see that up front. So, but that's kind of what it takes to get prepared to go to closing. And so we're running a little short on time this week, but next week, Kim's not going to be here with us. She has to go off for a business thing, but we'll talk more about once you're actually at the title company for the closing, what does that mean? What does it involve? How long do you need to be there? What do you need to bring with you? And those kinds of things. I will tell you now, if you do have to bring money to the closing, you cannot write a personal check. They want a certified cashier's check from your bank. And that's just because people have wrote bad checks at closings, and that is never a good thing. So like I said before, sometimes people don't play by the rules, and then they create issues for everybody. You have to, you just kind of have to lay the law down and say, well, this is what we're going to do. So, but after we talk next week about getting to the closing, I'm not going to be in town the following Wednesday. So once we start back up the last of April, we would like to have questions from people. Mm-hmm. I think we have pretty well explained the process, but there's always going to be something that maybe we didn't cover or that you didn't understand, what we were talking about. So if you have questions, feel free to either leave them as a comment, private message me, private message Kim, call, text, whatever. But we would love to have any questions that you have so that we can address those with you. As always, if you're looking to buy a house, I would love to help you out, and Kim would love to do the mortgage for you.
And also I was going to say interest rates have dropped some. So anybody that's on the fence, if you're thinking, hey, I'm just going to wait, it's a great time. THDA rates have dropped down to 4.5% from 4.875. And if you're a veteran, then you even get a percentage off of that. And then just all the other rates, everything's came down quite a bit. So it's a time to buy or time to even look at refinancing.
Or if you already have a house and you're thinking that you might need to downsize or you need to upsize, I'd love to help you get the house sold. We are still in a housing shortage here in Hamilton County. So we got more people looking for houses than we have for sale. So we definitely need that inventory. But we would love to help you out either way, and feel free to give us a call if you need any help, or if you have questions that you want to see us answer in a future episode. So thanks again. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.